March 2nd, 2023. A team of scientists makes an announcement that sends shockwaves through the archaeological community. After 4,500 years of standing silent on the Giza Plateau, the Great Pyramid has revealed something nobody expected to find. A hidden corridor, 9 meters long, sealed since the age of the Pharaohs, and what they discovered inside challenges everything we thought we knew about the world's most iconic monument. But here's where it gets strange. This tunnel was never meant to be found. It wasn't on any ancient blueprint. No hieroglyphic text mentions its existence. And the technology used to discover it. It's the same technology scientists use to look inside active volcanoes. Today, we're going deep inside the Great Pyramid. We're going to explore what was found in this secret passage. And more importantly, we're going to ask the question that nobody in mainstream archaeology wants to answer. What else is hiding inside the last remaining wonder of the ancient world? Welcome to Pharaoh's legacy. Let's uncover the truth. Before we dive into what was discovered, we need to understand something crucial. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just another ancient structure. It's not even just another pyramid. This monument was the tallest man-made structure on Earth for 3,800 years. Think about that. From approximately 2,560 BC until the Lincoln Cathedral was completed in 1311 AD, nothing humanity built came close to matching its height of 481 feet. The Roman Empire rose and fell. The Dark Ages came and went. The Renaissance transformed Europe. And through it all, the Great Pyramid stood as humanity's tallest achievement. It contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks. Each block weighs between 2.5 and 15 tons. Some of the granite blocks in the King's Chamber weigh up to 80 tons. And here's what keeps engineers up at night. These blocks are fitted together with a precision of less than 0.5 millimeter. You can't slide a piece of paper between most of these stones. They didn't use mortar. They didn't use metal tools, according to conventional archaeology. They supposedly built this using copper chisels, stone hammers, and wooden sledges. And they completed it in approximately 20 years, which means, if you do the math, they had to quarry, transport, and precisely place one block every 2 to 3 minutes, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 2 decades. But we're not here to debate how it was built. We're here because after 4,500 years of exploration, excavation, and investigation, the Great Pyramid just revealed a secret chamber that nobody knew existed. So how do you discover a hidden void inside a solid mountain of stone without drilling through priceless ancient architecture? The answer lies in particles called muons. And before your eyes glaze over, stay with me, because this is fascinating. Muons are subatomic particles that rain down on Earth constantly. They're created when cosmic rays from deep space collide with atoms in our upper atmosphere. About 10,000 muons pass through your body every minute, right now, as you're watching this. Here's the key. Muons can pass through rock, but they slow down and get absorbed depending on how much matter they encounter. Think of it like trying to walk through water versus walking through air. You can do both, but one is much harder. In 2015, an international team called the Scan Pyramids Project set up Muon detectors inside and around the Great Pyramid. They weren't looking for anything specific. They were just mapping the internal structure using this cosmic ray technology. The project used 3 different types of muon detection technology, placed in various locations inside and outside the pyramid. For months, these detectors silently recorded the muons passing through millions of tons of limestone and granite. And then, in 2017, they announced something incredible. They had detected a massive void above the Grand Gallery, a space as large as the Grand Gallery itself, which is 153 feet long and 26 feet high. This void, which they carefully called the Big Void, to avoid speculation, had been sealed inside the pyramid since its construction. But that was just the beginning. Fast forward to 2023. The team, not satisfied with just detecting the void, wanted to know more. They wanted to see inside without causing damage to the pyramid. So they did something that would make Indiana Jones jealous. They inserted an endoscopic camera, basically a tiny camera on a flexible tube, through a small gap between the stones on the pyramid's northern face. What they saw took their breath away. A corridor, 9 meters long, that's about 30 feet, with a triangular ceiling formed by massive chevron stones. The walls were smooth, the space was empty, and it appeared to have been deliberately sealed since ancient times. This corridor sits directly above the original entrance to the pyramid. It's located behind the famous chevron stones on the north face. These massive limestone blocks arranged in a V shape that have puzzled researchers for centuries. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Egyptologists had long suspected these chevron stones served a structural purpose: to redirect the weight of the massive pyramid away from the entrance gallery below. But if that's true, then why would there be an empty corridor behind them? Why create a 9-meter-long void in a structure where every cubic meter of space is supposedly accounted for? The official explanation is that it's a relieving chamber, an architectural feature designed to reduce stress on the structure below. But there are problems with that explanation, and those problems open the door to some truly mind-bending possibilities. Before we go deeper, let's take a moment to understand what we're really dealing with. Because the Great Pyramid isn't what your history textbook told you it was. Here's what conventional Egyptology tells us about the Great Pyramid. It was built by Pharaoh Khufu around 2560 BC as his tomb. It took approximately 20 years to construct. It was built by paid workers, not slaves, as popular culture often depicts. And its purpose was to serve as the pharaoh's final resting place and his vehicle to the afterlife. Sounds straightforward, right? Except for one tiny problem. We've never found Khufu's mummy. We've never found any treasure. We've never found any hieroglyphic inscriptions inside the pyramid identifying it as Khufu's tomb. What we have found inside the Great Pyramid is much stranger. 3 main chambers: the Queen's Chamber, the King's Chamber, and the Subterranean Chamber. Long, narrow shafts extending from the Queen's and King's chambers toward the outer faces of the pyramid. The Grand Gallery, a massive, corbelled ascending passage that serves no apparent structural purpose. And here's what really puzzles engineers. The King's Chamber contains 5 granite relieving chambers stacked on top of each other. The topmost chamber has a pointed roof. These chambers serve an obvious purpose. They distribute the enormous weight of the pyramid away from the king's chamber below. So we know the ancient builders understood and implemented sophisticated weight distribution techniques. Which brings us back to our newly discovered corridor. If the ancient builders already knew how to create relieving chambers, and they did so extensively above the king's chamber, then why is this corridor different? Let's focus on those chevron stones for a moment, because they're crucial to understanding this discovery. These aren't small stones. Each one weighs several tons. They're arranged in a distinctive V shape above the original entrance to the pyramid. Not the modern tourist entrance, but the original entrance that Al-Mamun's men discovered by tunneling through the pyramid in 820 AD. The chevrons have been visible since ancient times. Classical historians like Herodotus, who visited Egypt around 450 BC, don't mention them specifically, but Arab historians did. They noted the unusual arrangement and speculated about their purpose. For decades, Egyptologists believed the chevrons were purely decorative or symbolic. Some suggested they pointed the way to the entrance. Others thought they might have represented a symbolic gateway. But modern engineering analysis reveals something fascinating. The chevrons create a void, what engineers call a stress-relieving space. The weight of the stones above pushes down and outward, following the angle of the chevrons. This creates a protected space below. It's brilliant engineering. It's the same principle used in Gothic cathedral architecture, the flying buttress, developed thousands of years later. But here's the question nobody's adequately answered. If this corridor behind the chevrons is just a stress-relieving void, why is it so carefully constructed? Look at these walls. They're smooth. They're finished. This isn't just empty space created by leaning stones together. This is a deliberately constructed corridor, and that changes everything. This isn't the first time we've discovered hidden spaces in the Great Pyramid. In fact, the pyramid has a habit of revealing its secrets slowly, reluctantly, 1 century at a time. The big void discovered in 2017 that I mentioned earlier, that massive space above the Grand Gallery, we still don't know what it is. We haven't been able to access it. All we know is that it's there. Some researchers speculate it's a structural feature, similar to the relieving chambers above the king's chamber. Others suggest it could be a hidden chamber, possibly even a second burial chamber. But here's what bothers me about the just a structural feature explanation. Ancient Egyptian tombs often included hidden chambers. The Valley of the Kings is full of examples. Tutankhamun's tomb had a hidden annex. The tomb of Seti I has multiple hidden chambers. Egyptian architects knew how to create secret spaces. So why is it so hard to believe that the Great Pyramid, the most ambitious construction project in ancient Egyptian history, built for their most powerful pharaoh, might include secret chambers? Then there are the shafts. The Queen's chamber has 2 shafts. The King's chamber has 2 shafts. For years, Egyptologists called these air shafts, suggesting they were for ventilation. Except the shafts in the Queen's chamber were sealed at both ends. They didn't actually connect to the outside world, so they couldn't have been for ventilation. In 1993, a robot exploration of the Queen's chamber's southern shaft revealed a limestone door with copper handles. Behind that door, another shaft and another door. In 2002, a live television special showed a robot drilling through that first door. Millions of people watched. Behind it, they found more shaft and another door. As of today, we still don't know what's at the end of these shafts. We still don't know their purpose. Theories range from symbolic star alignments to unexplored burial chambers to astronomical observation channels. The pyramid, it seems, is designed to keep its secrets. But the physical mysteries aren't even the strangest part. It's the mathematics that really make you question everything. The Great Pyramid encodes multiple mathematical constants that shouldn't have been known to ancient Egyptians, at least according to our understanding of their mathematical knowledge. Let's start with pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, 3.14159, and so on. If you divide the perimeter of the Great Pyramid by twice its height, you get 3.14 accurate to 2 decimal places. Coincidence? Maybe. But then there's phi, the golden ratio, 1.618. If you divide the slant height of the pyramid by half its base, you get phi. The same ratio appears in the Fibonacci sequence, in nautilus shells, in the proportions of the human body. The ancient Greeks didn't formulate the golden ratio until over 2,000 years after the pyramid was built. And it gets weirder. The Great Pyramid sits at 29.9792 degrees north latitude. The speed of light in a vacuum is 299,792,458 meters per second. Same digits. The pyramid's base perimeter, measured in ancient Egyptian cubits, equals the number of days in a year multiplied by 100. You can find relationships between the pyramid's dimensions and the Earth's polar radius, the mean distance to the Sun, the precession of the equinoxes. Now, some of these could be coincidences. Human beings are pattern recognition machines. We can find patterns in randomness if we look hard enough. But all of them? At some point you have to ask, did the ancient Egyptians know more than we give them credit for? Or did they have access to knowledge that was later lost? Which brings us back to our secret corridor, because if the Great Pyramid encodes knowledge in its structure, what knowledge might be encoded in spaces we haven't discovered yet? So what do the experts say about this newly discovered corridor? Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's most famous archaeologist and former Minister of Antiquities, has stated that the corridor is a construction feature. According to him, it's a space created to reduce the weight bearing down on the original entrance passage. The Scan Pyramids team, led by Mehdi Tayubi and Kunihiro Morishima, have been more cautious. They describe it as a significant discovery that requires further investigation. They emphasize that the corridor's purpose remains unclear and that more research is needed. The academic consensus, such as it is, suggests the corridor is part of the pyramid's construction technique, a deliberate void created to manage structural stress. Think of it as ancient Egyptian engineering rather than a secret chamber with hidden treasures. And look, that might be true. The ancient Egyptians were phenomenal engineers. They understood load-bearing, weight distribution, and structural integrity in ways that still impress modern architects. But let's examine the problems with this explanation. First, if the corridor is purely structural, why is it so carefully finished? The relieving chambers above the king's chamber are rough. They were never meant to be seen. They have graffiti left by the workers. They're functional, not decorative. But this corridor, the walls are smooth. The construction is precise. It looks like a passage meant to be used, not just an empty void. Second, why is it completely sealed? If it's just for structural purposes, why seal it so thoroughly that it remained hidden for 4,500 years? The relieving chambers above the king's chamber were accessible. That's how we discovered them. Third, why is it located in this specific position? The chevron stones are visible from outside. Their symbolic importance is clear. Why place a mere structural feature in such a prominent, symbolic location? Unless it's not mere. Unless it's hiding something. One of the most persistent theories about the Giza Plateau is the legend of the Hall of Records. This concept comes primarily from the readings of Edgar Cayce, the famous American psychic who made thousands of predictions during the early 20th century. Cayce claimed that before the construction of the pyramids, an advanced civilization existed in Egypt. According to Cayce, this civilization, connected to the legendary Atlantis, possessed advanced knowledge of science, mathematics, and engineering. Before their civilization fell, they supposedly created a vault of records documenting their technology and wisdom. Cayce predicted this hall of records would be discovered near the Sphinx, in a chamber between the Sphinx and the Nile River. He said it would be found before the end of the 20th century. Obviously, that didn't happen. At least, not officially. But the concept of a hidden vault of knowledge resonates with many researchers, especially those who believe the Sphinx and the pyramids are much older than conventional archaeology suggests. Geologist Robert Schoch has argued that the weathering patterns on the Sphinx indicate water erosion, suggesting the structure could be 7,000 to 9,000 years old, thousands of years before the ancient Egyptian civilization supposedly existed. If the Giza structures are older than we think, then they might have been built by a different, perhaps more advanced civilization. And that civilization might have left records, knowledge, or technology hidden within the structures. Could this corridor be connected to such a vault? Could it lead to a chamber containing ancient records? The evidence for this is, let's say, speculative at best. We have no hieroglyphic texts supporting the Hall of Records legend. We have no archaeological evidence of a pre-dynastic advanced civilization in Egypt. But, and this is important, we also don't have a complete picture of what's inside the Great Pyramid. Until we explore every hidden space, every sealed corridor, we can't definitively rule anything out. Here's a more grounded theory. What if the corridor leads to a second, hidden burial chamber? This isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. Many Egyptian tombs included decoy chambers and hidden burial spaces. The purpose was to confuse grave robbers and protect the pharaoh's mummy and treasures. The tomb of Tutankhamun, for example, has an unusual layout. Some Egyptologists believe there might be additional chambers beyond the burial chamber, possibly containing the remains of Queen Nefertiti. Ground-penetrating radar scans of Tut's tomb have shown anomalies that suggest hollow spaces behind the walls. However, attempts to verify these findings have been inconclusive. Now, apply this thinking to the Great Pyramid. What if the king's chamber, the primary chamber containing the granite sarcophagus, was never Khufu's real burial place, What if it was a decoy? Think about it. Every valuable item ever placed in the king's chamber, if there were any, has been looted. The sarcophagus is empty. There's no lid. There's no treasure. If you were an ancient Egyptian architect, tasked with protecting your pharaoh's mummy for eternity, would you put it in the most obvious chamber? Or would you create an elaborate decoy and hide the real burial chamber somewhere no one would think to look? This corridor, sitting in a symbolic position above the main entrance, behind the sacred Chevron stones, could be an access point to a hidden chamber network. Perhaps the big void detected in 2017 isn't empty. Perhaps it's a sealed burial chamber, and this corridor is part of the access route. A route that was sealed and hidden after the burial. It would explain why the corridor is so carefully constructed. It would explain why it's sealed. And it would explain why the ancient builders went to such lengths to hide it. Now we enter more controversial territory. But stay with me, because even if you don't buy into these theories, the questions they raise are worth considering. Some researchers propose that the Great Pyramid wasn't a tomb at all. They suggest it was a machine. Christopher Dunn, a master craftsman and engineer, has proposed that the Great Pyramid was a power plant. According to his theory, the structure was designed to convert Earth's vibrational energy into usable power. His hypothesis involves the pyramid's shafts channeling chemicals, the king's chamber resonating at specific frequencies, and the entire structure acting as a massive energy converter. Dunn points to the precision of the pyramid's construction, tolerances that rival modern manufacturing, as evidence that it served a technical, not ceremonial purpose. Whether you believe this or not, it raises an interesting question. Why is the Great Pyramid so precisely built? The base of the pyramid is level to within less than an inch across 755 feet. The four sides are aligned to the cardinal directions: north, south, east, west, with an accuracy of 3/60 of a degree. This level of precision isn't necessary for a tomb. It is necessary for a structure serving a technical or astronomical function. If the pyramid had a function beyond burial, then these hidden corridors and chambers might be part of that function. They might contain machinery, or systems, or technology that we don't yet understand. Is this likely? That's debatable. But it's worth asking. Why are we so certain the ancients couldn't have developed technologies different from ours? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Mainstream archaeology has a pattern of dismissing anomalies. When the Big Void was announced in 2017, many Egyptologists immediately dismissed it as a structural feature, despite never having seen inside it. When this corridor was discovered, the explanation was ready before the exploration was complete. This isn't unique to Egyptology. Science has a history of rejecting paradigm-shifting discoveries. Continental drift was ridiculed for decades. The existence of meteorites was denied by scientific authorities. Heliocentrism was heretical. I'm not saying mainstream Egyptology is wrong. I'm saying science advances when we question assumptions, not when we protect them. The Great Pyramid has hidden corridors we're just discovering. It has voids we can't explain. It encodes mathematical relationships we don't fully understand. And it was built using techniques we still can't replicate with modern technology. Maybe it's all coincidence. Maybe the ancients were just really good with copper chisels and rope. Or maybe there's something we're missing, something these hidden spaces might reveal. So what do we do now? How do we find out what's really inside? If you're thinking, just drill into it and see what's there, you're not alone. That's probably what most people would want to do. But here's the problem. The Great Pyramid is one of the most important archaeological sites in human history. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's protected by Egyptian law and international treaties. You can't just drill into it. Every invasive investigation requires approval from Egyptian authorities, archaeological review boards, and preservation committees. And they're rightfully cautious. Because what if you drill into a hidden chamber and damage priceless artifacts? What if you introduce modern contaminants that accelerate decay? What if your drilling destabilizes the structure? Archaeology has a dark history of destructive investigations. Heinrich Schliemann used dynamite to excavate Troy. Giovanni Belzoni used a battering ram to enter pyramids. These methods destroyed irreplaceable evidence. Modern archaeology is about preservation as much as discovery. The goal is to learn without destroying. So the challenge is, how do you explore a sealed corridor without damaging it? How do you discover what's inside without changing what's inside? This is where technology becomes crucial. The Muon tomography that discovered these voids is just one tool in a growing arsenal of non-invasive archaeological techniques. Ground-penetrating radar sends electromagnetic pulses into the ground and measures the reflections. Different materials, stone, air, metal, organic matter, reflect these pulses differently. GPR can create 3D maps of underground structures without digging. It's been used to discover buried cities, hidden tombs, and underground chambers around the world. In the case of the Great Pyramid, GPR has been used to map potential voids, though the thick limestone blocks limit its effectiveness. Thermal imaging is another tool. Different materials absorb and radiate heat differently. By measuring the surface temperature of the pyramid at different times of day, researchers can detect hollow spaces behind the stone. In 2015, thermal anomalies were detected on the Great Pyramid's eastern face. These anomalies suggested voids or passages behind the blocks. Follow-up investigations are ongoing. Electrical resistivity tomography measures how easily electricity passes through different materials. Stone has one conductivity signature. Air has another. By mapping these signatures, researchers can identify hollow spaces. And then there's LIDAR, light detection and ranging. It uses laser pulses to create ultra-precise 3D maps of structures. While LIDAR can't see through solid stone, it can map every surface detail, helping researchers identify potential weak points or hidden seams that might indicate concealed doorways. The Scan Pyramids team has used multiple technologies in combination. By cross-referencing muon tomography with thermal imaging, GPR, and 3D modeling, they've built the most detailed internal map of the Great Pyramid ever created. But detection is only the first step. Confirmation requires direct observation. Remember those robots I mentioned earlier? The ones that explored the Queen's chamber shafts? That's the future of pyramid exploration. Tiny robots with cameras, lights, and sensors. They can navigate spaces too small or too dangerous for humans. They can be retrieved if they get stuck. And they cause minimal disturbance to the structure. The Jedi robot, used in 2011, was a marvel of engineering. It had a flexible camera that could see around corners. It had wheels that could navigate the tight confines of the shafts. And it was equipped with tools to drill small test holes. That's how we know there's more than one door in the Queen's chamber shaft. The robot drilled a tiny hole through the first door, inserted a camera, and revealed the second door behind it. Now imagine a robot exploring this newly discovered corridor. It could map every inch. It could take samples. It could search for hieroglyphic inscriptions, tool marks, or hidden openings. And if the corridor connects to another chamber, the robot could potentially access it without drilling through pyramid blocks or creating new passages. The technology exists. The question is, will Egyptian authorities approve such an exploration? And more importantly, what will we find if they do? But here's the reality. Permission for invasive or even semi-invasive exploration is extremely difficult to obtain. Egypt's antiquities are a source of national pride and tourist revenue. The government is understandably protective. They want to ensure any exploration is done properly, carefully, and with Egyptian oversight. Additionally, there's academic politics. Certain archaeologists have exclusive access to certain sites. Reputations are built on specific theories. Challenging the established narrative can threaten careers. Dr. Zahi Hawass, for example, has been a gatekeeper of Egyptian archaeology for decades. His support can make or break an excavation project. His opposition can halt research indefinitely. This isn't unique to Egypt. Archaeological politics exist everywhere. But it does mean that exciting discoveries don't always lead to immediate exploration. The Big Void was announced in 2017. As of 2023, we haven't sent a robot or camera inside. The newly discovered corridor was announced in March 2023. How long before we conduct a thorough exploration? The answer: it could be years, maybe decades. But patience is part of archaeology. And when the exploration does happen, when we finally see what these hidden spaces contain, the wait will be worth it. Let's zoom out for a moment and consider the bigger picture. What does this discovery mean for our understanding of ancient Egypt? The conventional timeline says the Great Pyramid was built around 2560 BC during Egypt's 4th dynasty. Khufu reigned for about 23 years. The pyramid took roughly 20 years to build, involving tens of thousands of workers. This timeline is based on several pieces of evidence. Hieroglyphic inscriptions found in the relieving chambers above the king's chamber, which include Khufu's name. The architectural style, which matches other 4th dynasty structures. And radiocarbon dating of organic materials found at the site. But here's where it gets interesting. The hieroglyphic inscriptions in the relieving chambers were discovered by Howard Vyse in 1837. Some researchers have questioned their authenticity, suggesting they might be forgeries created by Vyse to support his theories and secure funding. While mainstream Egyptology considers them genuine, the controversy highlights how little direct evidence we have linking Khufu to the pyramid. The radiocarbon dating has produced confusing results. Different samples from the pyramid have yielded dates spanning several centuries. Some organic materials date to 2850 BC, nearly 300 years before Khufu. Egyptologists explain this by suggesting the ancient builders used old wood, or that the samples were contaminated. But the wide range of dates raises questions. And here's the crucial point. If these hidden corridors and chambers have been sealed since construction, and if we can access them without contamination, they could provide definitive dating evidence. Organic materials sealed inside the corridor, wood, rope, cloth, could be radiocarbon dated. Tool marks could be analysed. Construction techniques could be compared to other dated structures. We might finally have undisputable evidence of when the Great Pyramid was really built. But the timeline is just one question. The bigger mystery is, what did the ancient Egyptians know? We've already discussed the mathematical constants encoded in the pyramid structure. Pi, phi, the speed of light, the Earth's dimensions. These relationships are either incredible coincidences, or they represent deliberate knowledge. And the thing is, we know the ancient Egyptians were mathematically sophisticated. The Rind mathematical papyrus, dating to around 1550 BC, shows they understood fractions, algebra, and geometry. But it doesn't show knowledge of pi beyond a rough approximation. It doesn't show knowledge of the Earth's circumference or the precession of the equinoxes. Those discoveries came later, or so we thought. The ancient Greeks calculated Earth's circumference around 240 BC. The precession of the equinoxes was documented around 130 BC. But the Great Pyramid was built more than 2,000 years before these discoveries. So either the ancient Egyptians knew these things and didn't write them down, or they encoded knowledge they received from somewhere else. From where? That's the question that leads to controversial theories about lost civilizations, ancient contact, or knowledge passed down from an earlier, forgotten age. And if these hidden spaces contain artifacts, texts, or evidence of how the pyramid was really built, they might answer these questions. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Egypt makes a lot of money from tourism. The pyramids are the country's most valuable attraction. Millions of visitors every year. Billions of dollars in revenue. The narrative they sell is safe, straightforward, and comfortable. Ancient pharaohs built magnificent tombs. Workers toiled for decades. The pyramids stand as monuments to human perseverance. That's the story people want to hear. It's inspiring. It's comprehensible. It doesn't challenge anyone's worldview. But what if the truth is more complicated? What if the pyramids weren't tombs? What if they're older than we think? What if they were built using techniques we can't explain? That narrative is less marketable. It raises more questions than it answers. It makes people uncomfortable. So there's a tension between discovery and tourism, between truth and tradition, between challenging orthodoxy and preserving the established story. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy to hide the truth. I am saying that economic and political factors influence which research gets funded, which explorations get approved, and which findings get publicized. These hidden chambers might contain evidence that changes everything. But if that evidence threatens the established narrative, will it be shared? There's another factor to consider: preservation versus exploration. Every time we enter these ancient spaces, we change them. We introduce modern bacteria, fungus spores, and moisture. We disturb air that's been sealed for millennia. We potentially damage fragile artifacts. When Howard Carter opened Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, he exposed it to the modern environment. Today, fungal growth threatens the tomb's painted walls. Microbes eat away at organic materials. The tomb is slowly decaying despite preservation efforts. The same thing happened with the Lascaux cave paintings in France. When tourists started visiting, their breath and body heat created humidity that encouraged mold growth. The paintings started deteriorating. Now the original cave is closed and tourists visit a replica. So there's an argument for leaving these sealed spaces alone, for not disturbing them, for preserving them for future generations who might have better technology and better techniques. But there's a counter-argument. What if we're running out of time? Cairo's urban sprawl is reaching the Giza Plateau. Air pollution is eroding the limestone. Groundwater levels are changing. Climate change is creating more extreme weather. The Great Pyramid has stood for 4,500 years. But will it stand for another 4,500? Will these hidden spaces survive if we don't explore them now? These are the questions Egyptologists face. Explore now and risk damage? Or wait and risk losing everything? There's no easy answer, but one thing is certain: time is not on our side. So let's recap what we actually know, separating fact from speculation. Fact: a hidden corridor exists behind the Chevron stones on the Great Pyramid's north face. It's 9 meters long. It has a triangular cross-section. It was deliberately constructed, not just a gap between stones. Fact: this corridor was discovered using Muon tomography, a non-invasive technology that detects voids by measuring cosmic ray particles passing through the structure. Fact: a larger void, discovered in 2017, exists above the Grand Gallery. We still don't know what it contains. Fact: multiple shafts extend from the Queen's and King's chambers. Some are sealed. We've explored portions of them with robots, but we haven't reached their ends. Fact: the Great Pyramid's construction techniques remain mysterious. The precision of its engineering exceeds what should have been possible with the tools available to the ancient Egyptians, according to our current understanding. Now, what's speculation? The corridor might lead to a hidden chamber, or it might not. We don't know yet. There might be treasure, artifacts, or texts inside these hidden spaces. Or they might be empty. We don't know yet. The pyramid might encode advanced mathematical knowledge, or the mathematical relationships might be coincidences. We're not certain yet. The pyramid might be older than conventional chronology suggests. Or the dating might be accurate. The evidence is debated. The difference between fact and speculation is evidence, and the only way to get more evidence is to explore. So what's next for the Great Pyramid's exploration? The Scan Pyramids team has announced they plan to continue their non-invasive scanning. They're refining their technologies, gathering more data, and building more detailed 3D models of the pyramid's internal structure. There's talk of using improved robotic probes to explore the corridor and possibly the big void. These probes would be smaller, more maneuverable, and equipped with better sensors than previous generations. Some researchers are advocating for micro-drilling, creating pencil-thin holes to insert fiber optic cameras. This would allow visual confirmation of what's inside without creating large access points. Ideally, exploration would involve international collaboration. Japanese scientists have been crucial to the Muon tomography work. French engineers have contributed architectural analysis. Egyptian authorities would oversee and approve all investigations. But as we've discussed, approval is slow, funding is limited, and academic politics complicate everything. The truth is, we might not see a thorough exploration of these spaces for years. But when it happens, it will be one of the most significant archaeological events of the 21st century. Why should you care about a corridor in a 4,500-year-old pyramid? Because this is about more than archaeology. It's about understanding who we are as a species. The Great Pyramid represents human ambition, ingenuity, and mystery. It's a monument that has outlasted empires, religions, and civilizations. It's a testament to what humans can achieve when we push beyond what seems possible. And it's a reminder that we don't know everything. We live in an age where we think we've figured out most of history, where we trust our textbooks and our timelines. But the Great Pyramid, this ancient structure that predates written history as we know it, keeps surprising us. It keeps revealing secrets. It keeps challenging our assumptions. That's humbling, and it's exciting. Because if we're wrong about the pyramids, what else are we wrong about? What other secrets is history hiding? What other mysteries are waiting to be discovered? The secret corridor discovered under the Great Pyramid is a beginning, not an ending. It's a door opening onto new questions, new possibilities, new mysteries. We don't know what's inside yet. We don't know what it means. And that's okay. Mystery is what drives discovery. Uncertainty is what inspires exploration. The ancient Egyptians built something that would outlast them by millennia. They encoded secrets into stone. They created a monument that would make future generations look up in wonder and ask, how? And we're still asking, still wondering, still searching for answers. That's the legacy of the pyramids. Not just the stones themselves, but the questions they inspire. What do you think? Is this corridor just a structural feature? Or is it hiding something that will change history? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on the latest discoveries from ancient Egypt, make sure you subscribe to Pharaoh's Legacy. Because if 4,500 years have taught us anything, it's this. The pyramids aren't done revealing their secrets. Thanks for watching.